mouse. Okay. So let's start with the first one, that is drawing simple conclusions, right? Okay, how many are from Delhi here? Anyone from Delhi? No. Anyone has been to Delhi? Yeah. You tell me, what are the reasons for, you know that Delhi is one of the most polluted cities in the world now, right? Especially during winter. So what are the reasons offered for high pollution? Calcutta also has high population, Chennai also has high population. What is the reasons offered for pollution, high pollution? Yeah.
Fires that happens in Punjab and near states.
Very good. So yeah, after harvesting. So can someone explain what are those fires? Stubble burning. Yeah. So can you explain what is stubble burning? Correct. So what's your name, ma'am? Anjana. Anjana says that after the harvest season is over, so when you harvest the paddy stalk, right, then the stubble that is left behind, that is burnt. Okay, that serves two purposes. You burn and clear the fields. That is also used as some kind of, fertilizer for fresh this thing. So this happens in October after the Rabi or Kharif crop. I always get confused. I think the Rabi crop or maybe Kharif, either of those two crops, in Punjab. So every year you see a lot of farm fires during October and November, after the harvest season is over, when they prepare the seed sowing for the next season, right? And one of the reasons offered for pollution is that because these farm fires are so well spread. Have you been to Punjab, anyone? You have been. It's one of the more agriculturally rich states, right? You have huge agricultural fields. So what happens is when you burn this stubble over large fields, over large expanse, then because of the smog and smoke going through neighboring parts, that's the reason why they say pollution is high in some places in North India, right? Apart from that, what is the other issue most responsible for pollution? Not population. Transport, exactly. So more vehicles you use, more vehicular pollution. And Delhi is like a what's the right word? It's like a high gravity area, right? So in North India, unlike let's say I'll give the Tamil Nadu example. Unlike Tamil Nadu, where you have industrial clusters in Chennai, Coimbatore, Trichy, Tirupur, Maniyampadi, even now in South Tamil Nadu. So industrial labor is scattered in different parts of Tamil Nadu. But in North India, much of the industrial livelihoods are in areas surrounding Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, Ghaziabad, Faridabad and so on, that whole area, right? And that is surrounded by large areas of only purely agriculture. So a lot of people migrate to Delhi. More migration leads to, so your theory is almost validated. More migration, more people, more vehicles. More vehicles, more pollution, right? So vehicular pollution is another reason. But what governments have been claiming over time is that farm fires are responsible for the highest, pollution levels, right? So what we wanted to see was come up with a simple conclusion whether there is a reduction in the farm fires, right? If there is a reduction in the farm fires, there should be less pollution, right? But if pollution persists and farm fires have come down, then some other reason is more responsible for the pollution, correct? So we wanted to just check that out, right? How do you find farm fires? What data source do you use for farm fires? Can someone guess? Make a guess. See, please participate. Even if your answers seem stupid or something like that, don't worry. Everybody comes up with ideas only when they make mistakes, right? I have made far more stupid mistakes than you think I might have made, even while telling data stories. So come up with, please participate. So what could be a way to measure farm fires? Yeah. Anjana, yeah. Huh? Okay, air quality index is measuring pollution, but I have to track farm fires specifically. How do I do it? Yeah. Okay, if a fire happens in a particular area, right? There are two ways to identify that fire. If I'm in that area and the temperature goes up, that could be because of fires. But is there a better way to visually see it? Huh? Heat map. Come on. By seeing what? What? Okay. How do you see that land? Ash. From where do you see that ash? Huh? Okay. From where do you take the picture to see that land? Exactly. So you come to that idea, right? See? That's why I'm saying participate. Basically, taking satellite imagery is a good way of identifying whether forest fires happen, right? And now that we have satellites that do remote sensing, forget just surface level things, we are getting to know, like if an area has high tungsten content, I can actually, if tungsten is buried 3 kilometers, like for example in this university, 3 kilometers below where I stand, sorry, not 3 kilometers, 300 meters below where I stand, there is tungsten deposits, and a satellite can actually capture it, right? That level of remote sensing abilities we have. Farm fire is surface level. If fires happen, you can see, you can take aerial photographs, you can see burning areas, then there's a farm fire, right? And since satellite imagery in India is very proficient in satellite imagery, because we have our own satellites that capture this, and thankfully the data is also available. If you go to Bhuvan, okay, this is ISRO's own geoportal this thing, which looks at disasters, fires, okay? So here I can, like for example, look at farm fires. All these places you have had fires, okay? There I can give, there are various variables here. So farm fire, I can click on agriculture fires, and so on, right? Look at this. This is active agricultural fire. Look at this. These are the places where you have agricultural fires now, right? So this information can be downloaded from here by count, district-wide fire and location-wise count, and simply plotted over time, right? That is what we are doing it here. I opened too many windows, huh? I'm sorry. Where did I open it? Okay. Yeah. So first what we did was, we looked at two charts. One chart is to look at over a period of 1 year, what is the pollution levels in Delhi, okay? And we did not just look at Delhi, we looked at Delhi, Noida and Gurgaon. And clearly what does it show? In January to February and in October to December, that's when the pollution levels are high, right? Now the general argument is that this is because of farm fires, okay? So now we looked at paddy residue burning events from satellite data over almost 9 years, 8 years, 2016 to 2024, okay? And we looked at three states, Punjab, UP and Haryana. What does this say? Can someone explain this graph? Tell me what is happening in Punjab. Yeah. Huh?
Few burnings happen. From 21 to 24. Yeah, it's decreasing.
Exactly. So she has found that the trend of farm fires is decreasing from 2016 to 2024. There is a peak during the COVID years, 2019, 2021, there was a peak, but after that it is declining, correct? And Punjab in 2016 used to have close to 20,000 instances of farm burning, right? Now it has come down to less than 3,000, okay? So almost a drop of 17,000 fires, right?
Sir, could you please zoom it because we cannot
Oh, sorry.
see.
Can someone switch off the lights? Yeah. Is this better? Yeah, okay. So look at this, from 2016 to 2024, number of farm fires or paddy residue burning events in 3 states, Punjab blue, UP grey, Haryana red. Correct? Understood, ma'am? You understood? Okay, sorry. I'll repeat. We are looking at number of paddy burning incidents from 2016 to 2024 in 3 states, Punjab, UP and Haryana. And our friend here said that in Punjab you can see a clear declining trend. Correct? It was nearly 20,000 or 20,000 or more than 20,000 fires in 2016. It has come down to barely 3,000 in 2024 for Punjab. For UP also, for Haryana also it has come down. UP it was always low, almost not much of a change, right? So this is a simple conclusion. Farm fires have come down drastically, pollution levels remain high. So clearly farm fires are not contributing to this. Okay? So that's what we should try to show in this article. Interestingly, after we did this, there was a follow-up story by our science editor. That's where I told you numbers have to be carefully interpreted, right? We looked at detected farm fires, right? What is happening is, how are the farm fires detected? So a satellite, it goes around the earth, right? At specific points of the day, it passes through Punjab. So every day at 2 o'clock, it goes and sees if there are any farm fires. And for 15 to 20 minutes hovering in that area, it collects information and then moves on to the next area. The farmers are so clever that they don't burn anything from 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Fires have been burnt after 4 o'clock. So essentially this data is problematic. So many areas, actually farm fires are still happening, but the satellite is not able to capture it because it's a geostationary satellite which only captures data from certain period to certain period. Then we decided, instead of using geostationary satellite data, let us look at, there are permanent fixture data. Use that data. And when you use that data, I didn't do the story, some meteorologists, some scientists did it. They found that the farm fires are actually high. Okay, so long and short of it, we have to understand the context why we are doing the data stories. If I knew that farmers are cheating the satellite, the story will say something else. But that said, still this number is very low. Even after measuring the non-measured, it has come down. So again, farm fires are not responsible primarily for the pollution. Other sources of pollution are more robust. Okay? Simple conclusion, first type of data story. Let's go on. I'll go on quickly. Next is pattern analysis, right? Okay. Can someone tell me what is SIR? How many of you are registered as voters? Most of you. Did you have to submit the enumeration form in wherever places? Yes? Yeah. So tell me what is SIR? Full form first. Special intensive revision. Thank you. What does it mean? From the previous SIR to okay. So basically, it is an exercise to clean up the electoral rolls, to show that only those genuine voters who are living in a particular area are going to be noted in the electoral roll. So what happens is, every year the Election Commission performs what is called a summary revision, right? Let's say we are all in the same constituency, okay? So let's say our friend there just turned 18, okay? His name is not there, okay? So the Election Commission will go and add that person's name, okay? Now suppose, let's say he and I will leave this place, okay? Our name will still be there on that list, right? Intensive revision, what happens is, they will go and find out if we are really living here. If we are not there, our names will be removed, right? And only who are ordinary resident, their names will be put in. That is special intensive revision. Now, the special intensive revision that is now being carried out is being carried out with a new methodology. Can someone tell me what is the new methodology? All of you got enumeration forms, right? You had to fill up those enumeration forms, right? Previously, in other electoral special intensive revisions, election commission used to come to each house. And if you are there, then note it down that you are there. If you are not there, they'll ask a neighbor. Is our friend here, living here still? The neighbor says, yes, he's gone out of town, but he stays here. Okay, mark that person as present. Right? So election commission took the onus of finding if a person is ordinarily resident or not. Now the election commission, what it has done, it has given enumeration forms. It is dropping those enumeration forms in the houses. And if that person has to remain in the list, then that person has to fill up that enumeration form. Right? So the methodology is they'll go visit the house 3 times. First time they'll go, if that person is there, give the election enumeration form, fine, done. First time they're not there, they'll go again after, let's say, 10 days and drop the form again. If they're still not there, go for the 3rd time, still drop the form. If they're not there, then their name will be removed from the list. That is what the SIR is. Now, clearly the onus has shifted from putting the buck, or who is responsible for adding the roll. It was previously election commission itself. Now the voter itself has to say that, look, I am here, please enter my name, right? So there is a difference. So who could be most affected in this? 2 sets of people. One is migrant workers. Suppose I am from, let's say I am from UP, I am working in Kerala for 3 months a year during my non-harvest months. Those 3 months, if SIR is happening in those 3 months in my village, and I am not there, and I have not filled up my enumeration form, my names will be cut out, correct? So that is one. That is one section of people who will be affected. Who else could be affected? Yes, obviously, but I am saying category of people. Like migrant workers is a category of people. Yes, students who have gone to study in other states, they could be affected. They are also temporary migrants. Women, okay. Normally in Indian society, when the woman gets married, she goes to her in-laws house, right? That's the standard in Indian families, right? Or they go and live separately, but very rare is the case that the woman, the husband and the wife stay in the same place as where the woman has grown up, right? Very rare is the case. So if the person shifts from one place to another, and her name is there in place X, but she's gone to place Y, so if the enumeration form is dropped in place X and she's not there, her name will be deleted. But technically her name should be included in Y, right? But still her name will be first deleted, right? So that's what has happened in Bihar. So what we found out was, in Bihar, unlike other states, the net population migrating out of Bihar is high, right? More people go out of Bihar, go from Bihar to other states for work, right? So that means, and most of them are males. So what does it mean? It means that even though, let's say, there are 100 people in my constituency, okay? And 51 people are men, 49 women, okay? Let's say all of them are registered, okay? So the gender ratio will be 998 or something like that, right? But because many of the men live outside Bihar, women vote more. Even though they are less in number in the registry, they vote more. So gender ratio among voters will be 1,100, 1,020 or something like that, right? That is the pattern that is very unique to Bihar. Okay, I'll show you that pattern. Where is it? I opened too many things, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So, look at this graph. I'll explain this graph. Please watch it carefully, otherwise you won't understand. What is gender ratio? Number of women divided by number of men in any particular cohort. That is gender ratio, right? So if you look at the x-axis, this is female to male electors or eligible voters, right? So if there are 1,000 men, how many eligible women were there to vote in a state? Look at this information here. So the female to male electors ratio was 907. This is Lok Sabha elections, okay? So for every 1,000 men, there were only 907 women in the registry, in the electoral roll. Understood so far? Do you want me to explain again what is gender ratio for electors? In Bihar, during the Lok Sabha elections, in the rolls, actual rolls, for every 1,000 men, there were 907 women. Okay? But, in the final list turnout among who voted, right? There were 1,017 women for every 1,000 men. Meaning, even though women are lesser in number in the roll, in the final instance, more women are voting. What could be the reason for it? Exactly. So, males are migrating in large numbers to other states, and therefore more women are voting. And that number is, available in census also. In census will tell you there are more male migrants and more women who are marrying out, going out of the state. So for the purpose of migration, male migrants do it for work, women migrants do it after marriage, right? In absolute numbers, the number of male migrants who go to work are much higher than the number of women migrants who go for marriage. Okay? So net migration is higher among men. That is also reflected in the gender ratio. Okay, so now after this I have to do SIR. Okay, I have to correct the electoral rolls. So what will I do? I am saying if the person is only ordinarily resident in that area, I will add that person. But more men are migrating, right? So whose names will be deleted more, men or women? Men, correct? But, and this is a very peculiar pattern. Bihar, only few states have it. Bihar, Jharkhand, to some extent Himachal. Most of the other states are not like that. Let's say Kerala. Kerala, not only are number of registered women high, 1,064, women are also voting high. UP is different. UP number of women registry is low, voting also is low. But Bihar is the opposite. Okay? But look at this. This is basically gender ratio in electoral roll for each constituency. Okay? And basically, the change in gender ratio. Okay? Meaning red means the gender ratio has come down. Fewer women have been in the rolls. Blue means more women. Except for one constituency, everywhere else number of women have actually come down. These are the places where it is the highest. These are the places where it is the highest. Right? These are border districts. Right? Mostly because border districts they marry and go to neighboring places. That's the reason why women have been cut more. But this is gender ratio, which includes men also. So technically, these should all be blues because men are migrating more. What it is happening among women. So that is the kind of pattern we found out in Bihar. Okay. This is seat-wise change in electors. Everywhere there has been reduction in the vote, this thing, and more women have been deleted. So this is the paradox. So overall gender ratio, if you notice, before in Lok Sabha election it was 907. Before the assembly election it came down to 892. Okay. So even though men were migrating more, women were deleted more. The reason what we found out was, migrant men, even if they are going out of their houses, their relatives are saying they are staying here only. Because voter ID card is used for different purposes, for property registration, etc., etc. But if women are marrying and going to some other place, they are saying please remove from the names. That is what is happening. And mostly happening in poor households. Lots of poor women have actually this. Interestingly, after the elections were held, there were 20, I'll show you that data one second. In terms of registration, there were 40 million more men registered, okay, in the list. But in terms of voters, 4 lakh more women voted. Despite the gap between men and women being 40 lakhs, in the final instance, there were 4 lakh women who voted more. There were reasons for it. One was this cash transfer scheme that benefited women and increased voter turnout. But at the same time, this also reflected migration patterns. Okay? So more registrations are there, but they did not turn to vote. So even though they were migrants, they were still noted in the rolls. Well, women who are migrating for marriage, they were not. So this is a pattern analysis. Okay? So how did we do it? We looked at gender ratio in the actual electoral roll and in the elections that happened. Then looked at the gender ratio after SIR and found a pattern there. Understood? You understood what we did here? Shall I move on? Okay. This is pattern analysis, right? So if you see here, the gender ratio fell from 907 to 892, despite the SIR targeting migrants, most of whom were male. Right? So that is the unexplained drop. And interestingly, this pattern is not just a Bihar pattern. Every state has seen a drop in gender ratio. Every state, including Kerala and Tamil Nadu. We are doing the story for Monday. I'll put it out. Clearly married women as a category are being largely affected. We also checked it out. What we did was, we looked for the reasons why they are deleted. Deletion of women is highest among the 18 to 30 age category, with the reason being shifted. That is, young women who are getting married and moving, they are the ones who are getting deleted more. Okay? Anyway, that's pattern analysis. Let's move on. Similar story, very simple story. I don't want to delve deeper into this. We want to look into the pattern of what kind of universities do Indian students go to UK. And we found that number of student intake in UK for Indians has gone up. But primarily it is going to places which the university are mediocre. The ranks are not that high. The fees is also high. And that's the reason why they are not getting jobs in UK. So we looked at all that different patterns, basically. Okay? Simple pattern analysis. And we also found the UK government have put a cap on fees. Say you cannot charge more than this fees for UK students. So they made fees for foreign students high, and Indians are therefore going and paying a lot of money, but they're mostly going to universities which is not of high standard, and therefore they're not getting jobs. So that's the story we said. Simple pattern analysis. Okay, now interesting. Okay, so far we did simple conclusions, patterns, right? Then we do direct fact checks using data, right? Yeah. How many of you are from Kerala here? Most of you. Were all of you in Kerala in 2018? Yes, 2018. No, you are not. Okay. How many of you were affected by the floods in Kerala? Lucky people, huh? Okay. So 2018, there's a movie made on it, right? So Tovino Thomas, right? So in Kerala, there were huge floods in 2018, and a lot of people were affected, right? One thing we wanted to find out was 2018 floods a consequence of just very heavy rains or a consequence of bad water management, right? So if, by what do you mean by water management? Basically we have, how do floods happen? Floods happen when you store water in reservoirs, but the level of water in reservoirs is so high that it overflows from the reservoirs, that's when floods happen, correct? So we did this analysis in 2018 to find out how flood management was done, okay? So look at this. We looked at the full life cycle of where water comes in, stored, spills, floods. The full life cycle, we looked at it. Okay? So this chart, this graph, for example, so see, look at this chart. This chart is simply rainfall data. What does it say? It says that you have two variables here. One is green, that is daily average rainfall, and the railway line red color thing, that is normal average rainfall. So we looked at data from June 1 to August 15, okay? And what did we find? We found that for many days, the actual rainfall were higher than the normal rainfall for those days. Normal rainfall is defined by the Met Department. They look at averages for, let's say, 30 years, and they come up with the average rainfall for this particular day based on the previous year's data. And look at this, for many days, the actual rainfall was higher than the normal. And on August 15, on Independence Day, for that matter, I think, I don't know why particularly on Independence Day, the normal rainfall was much higher, almost 128 millimeter, a 9-fold deviation from the normal was seen on August 15. Okay. Now, rainfall is one thing. As we said, rainfalls, water is collected in reservoirs, right? So clearly, when there is more rainfall, there will be more water in the reservoirs. That's what the second graph shows you. Is it visible, right? Fine. Look at this. So as the rainfall increases, inflow of water to reservoirs also increases. This is just inflow into waters, amount of water that is getting into reservoirs. So similar, as the data shows there, when there is high rainfall, there is more inflows. Okay. Each color is for every reservoir, Idukki, Pamba, Sholayar, and so on. Okay. So now water getting into reservoir is going up. So now we are looking at storage levels, right? So look at this, by July 27th itself, some of the reservoirs almost have 100%. And Idukki gets to 100% by August 15, right? And look at that, before August 15 itself, almost all of them have 100%. The reservoirs are almost filled to the brim, right? So when you have heavy rainfall on August 15, what is going to happen to that water? It will spill, correct? So let's check the data also. This is spill data. So look at this. By till August 12th or so, the reservoirs were full, but there was no spills. But by August 15th, suddenly spills go up, right? Then what we look at is water is now spilled into the rivers. And what is flood? Flood is if the water levels are higher than a certain point. So Central Water Commission measures floods at different points. So we looked at Central Water Commission data, and we found out of 21 stations, in at least 8 stations, the flood level had been breached. So let's say, for example, Vandi Periyar, so forgive me if my pronunciation is wrong, Vandi Periyar in Periyar River in Idukki, the flood level is 794 meters, but the actual level of water is 797. It has breached the flood level. Like that, for 8 places we found that flood levels have been breached. So the conclusion from this was, it is partially because of this very heavy rainfall incident that resulted in spills. But also we could say, if the reservoir managers had kept these levels low, so when this heavy rainfall fell here, then the spills would not have happened, correct? Correct? So it's a combination of human lack of anticipation and heavy rainfall. Now, how do you test that if the human anticipation is right or wrong? One way of doing it is, if this incident again happens, and we see whether the governments or whether the authorities have adjusted or not. And luckily or unluckily, Kerala had a similar situation in 2022, okay? And we found data for that also. So let us look at Kerala data on 2022. Oh, wait. Yeah. So look at this thing. In 2022, rainfall was not as high as 2018, but similar. In 2022 also, there were many days when the rainfall was more than average, just like 2018, okay? Similar to 2018, inflows into reservoirs also went up in 2022, but mostly between this period, August 14 to this thing. Not as high, but relatively high, okay? But look at this. Look at storage levels. Storage levels in 2018, almost 100% in August 14. 15 came, burst, right? But look at 2018 data. They went up to 100, but they were reduced a bit. It came down to 89, 90%. Okay? So basically what they did was, they below the 90% mark. Come what may, they kept the levels at below 90% to prepare for the worst. Okay? they maintain what is called the upper rule level. So then we looked into spills data. So if inflow is, the levels are maintained at low, the spills will not be there, should not be there, right? This is spills in 2018. Look at the spills. This much, not much. Okay, the spills were not high. So clearly in 2022, they were able to manage the reservoirs better. So if the spills are so low, then flood limits should be low, right? This is extreme flood situation measured in 2018. How many places? 13 stations had record level floods. In 2022, nowhere. Not a single place had extreme flood situation. Even though rainfall levels are similar, this thing was not there. Now, as I told you, journalists, we can just put data out and find out patterns. But it is the job of journalism to go one step further and ask the question why. And that can come from an expert. So we talked to this expert, James Wilson, who is a reservoir manager. Said, what did you do different from 2018 that you managed to, hold the floods? So he said, we used this concept called upper level rule, and we kept levels at certain level. Previously, in 2018 also we tried to keep it, but in 2018 we were dependent on only one model of rain prediction. If IMD says level of rain is going to go up now, then based on that we adjusted our levels. Now in 2022, we use 3 models: an European model, an American model, and our Indian model. Any model says that rain is going to go high, immediately we'll reduce the levels. Okay, so dynamically we changed it irrespective. Just one model said that there is going to be higher rainfall, we'll reduce the levels. That's what we did, and so there were no floods. So we were able to fact check this idea that reservoir management was better in 2022 by comparing with 2018 using patterns. Understood? Okay, so the fact check kind of idea. Okay. Yeah. Another story on fact check. This is a direct fact check. So in 2019, many of you know that something happened in Kashmir. What happened in Jammu and Kashmir? Can someone tell me? Yeah, Anjana. What happened in 2019? Constitution of J&K was what? Be more specific. Abrogation of article, not exactly abrogation of article, but rather abrogation of special status. Very good. What's your name? Amrita. Very good answer, Amrita. What happened in 2019 was what is the special status in which article guarantees it? 370. So the article 370 guaranteed special status for Kashmir in Jammu and Kashmir before 2019. In 2019, the government actually diluted article 370 by abrogating special status. Okay. Now, special status is not only given to Jammu and Kashmir, other states also have it. We have what is called asymmetric federalism. I don't want to get into details, but Article 372, 371, they also accord special status to several states. Okay. Anyway, in 2019, Article 370 was diluted in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the Home Minister then said, the reasons why we are removing special status are the following. Number one, J&K has relatively poorer healthcare. J&K has higher poverty. Jammu and Kashmir has a relative lack of doctors. Okay, lack of doctors meaning for every 1,000 people, if I have 5 doctors, okay, and the average for the country is say 8, that means my level is low, right? So lack of doctors and economic growth being slow. These are the reasons why we think that special status is not helping Jammu and Kashmir. We will bring the legal system and the political legal system in Jammu and Kashmir equal to that of rest of India, and only then we will improve. Only then these improvements can be made. This is what the government claimed, right? Now we wanted to fact check it. Is this really true that Jammu and Kashmir suffers compared to other states? So immediately when I say does it suffer compared to other states, then I have to use these parameters and compare with other states, correct? So it's a comparative data point, right? So what do? I look at different variables. So look at this. Can't go beyond this. Okay. So look at life expectancy. Can someone interpret the graph for me? What does it say? What are these dots? What do each dot represent? Yeah, Amrita, tell me. What are those dots? Okay, first, what is life expectancy? Yeah, say. What is life expectancy? No, what does it mean? No, what is life expectancy? Let's say I'm saying Tamil Nadu's, exactly.
Average life of person.
So, average expected lifespan of a person in a state, correct? That is life expectancy, right? So, the red dot, each dot you see, the circle you see, each of it is a state. Understood? So far so good. And you see this x-axis, it is 65, 67, 69, 71, 70, 30. This is the life expectancy, right? So some states have life expectancy between 65 and 67. These states have 65 to 67. Some have between 68 to 70. Some have between 71 and 73. And some have between 73 to 75, right? What is Jammu and Kashmir's life expectancy? 73.5. Is it better than many states? How many states are better than Jammu and Kashmir? 2. So is the Home Minister's claim that Jammu and Kashmir has poor life expectancy true or false? False. So we have fact-checked this point. Now let us come to the next point. People served per government doctor. Okay? So for each doctor, how many people is he serving? So that's, let's say if you have 10,000 people and you have only 2 doctors, so how many people is each doctor serving? There are 10,000, 5,000, right? So 10,000 people and there are 2 doctors, so each doctor is serving 5,000 people, right? That's the idea, right? That's how we calculated. So, people served per government doctor data in 2018, this is in thousands. So one state, I don't know which one it is, but that state is basically almost 30,000 people, there is 1 doctor. Okay? Jammu and Kashmir's value? 3060. How many states are better than Jammu and Kashmir? Better than 6 states. Meaning, in 6 states, the number of people served per government doctor is lower. Okay? So 6 states are better than Jammu and Kashmir. How many states are worse off than Jammu and Kashmir? 23. So is Jammu and Kashmir worse off or better off in terms of doctor-government ratio? Better off. So is the Home Minister's statement true or false? False. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Rural employment rate. This is related to economic. He also said slow economic growth. So we are looking at different aspects of economic rate. So here, in rural economic rate on the other hand, sorry, how do we remove this thing? Control. What happened? Sorry. On rural employment rate, 19 states were better than Jammu and Kashmir. Okay? Only 9 states were worse. Meaning, in unemployment rate on the other hand, Jammu and Kashmir is worse off. So the Home Minister's claim true or false here? True. So on this thing, the Home Minister's statement is true. Let's look at the poverty rate thing, right? How many states are better? 7 states are better. How many states are worse off? 21 states are better. On poverty, Home Minister's true or false? False. How about infant mortality rate? More states are worse than better. Again, true or false? False. Per capita net state GDP. How many states are better? How many are? 8 are worse and 20 states are better. The Home Minister's statement is true or false? True. Right. Overall HDI. Again, Jammu and Kashmir is middling, slightly better. More better than average. Right. So we looked at different parameters one by one to fact check these claims. on the question of economic growth alone, the Home Minister's statement has merit. But on other things, right, on healthcare, poverty also is linked to economy, lack of doctors, etc., those statements are not basically what as the Home Ministry claim. So this is plain as it is. So we are not imputing anything, we are only simply stating the numbers as it is. Okay. Interestingly, Omar Abdullah, the current Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, in a television interview, read these details. He didn't quote, he didn't cite us, unfortunately, but he read it in the same order, life expectancy. Then we realized that he's actually reading our data point. So anyway, so basically, so this is a fact check, right? Any questions so far? Shall we move on? Yeah. Okay, this is slightly complicated. I'll just move on quickly. Now, so far we saw patterns, correlations, and so on, right? But we need to move beyond correlations to causation. Now again, come back to our friend, what's your name, sir? The farm PhD student who is working on farms. What's your name? Anup. Anup told us that he's working on a story that looks at the link between new cooperatives incorporated in a particular district or entire of Kerala. Okay, certain districts in Kerala from 2020 to 2026, and farm productivity, correct? Or sustainability, right? So there might be correlations, like more cooperatives, better farm productivity. There can be correlations. But causation is when you can draw a clear link between, the increase in cooperatives and increase in productivity. It is not just looking at two trends and saying they are connected. The intermediate step that connect these two things have to be established. Now, this is beyond the scope of our class. There are statistical ways to do it, methods to do it. But for data journalistic purposes, we need to get those information that help in the establishing the causation. There's something called spurious correlation. Can someone say what is spurious correlation? Yeah? So let's say, for example, I find out that bread eating in Kerala, okay, has increased in the last 10 years. Okay, bread eating in Kerala has increased in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, Kerala's Ranji Trophy team has started doing better. It's doing well in cricket. So can I say bread eating has helped Kerala do better in cricket? No. Why not? Because both numbers are going up, right? Why can't I do it? Because this is spurious correlation. You have to link directly to this. How can you link directly to this? You have to first find out if Kerala cricket players are eating more bread, right? And you have to find out if they are eating more bread than other cricket players in other states, right? And then you have to link eating more bread leading to better cricket performance. Better performance leading to teams doing better. All of these steps have to be shown to be accurate. Only then you can make this causation argument that bread eating is leading to this thing, right? If you don't do that and simply show these two patterns, it's spurious correlation, correct? I'm just simplifying it for you. That's more technical term, but to put it simply, you cannot draw linkages between two patterns just because they are heading in the same direction. Got it? So now we'll get into causation. Understood what I was saying? Let's move on. Okay. For example, this one is slightly okay. Yeah. This will be interesting. Yeah. So we wanted to find out why is it that in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, the opposition for 3-language formula is higher than states in West, where also Hindi is not the main spoken language. Hindi is not the main spoken language in Kerala. Hindi is not the main spoken language in Tamil Nadu. It is not the main spoken language in Maharashtra and Gujarat as well. But opposition to third language, right, is higher in Tamil Nadu and Kerala relative to, or Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra and Karnataka relative to the West. Why is that the case, right? So what we found out was, we found out that I'll show you that once again. So look at these categories I'm looking at. Monolinguals, at least bilinguals, Hindi and English. By monolingual, people who know only one language. Okay? Bilingual, people who speak at least two languages. Right? And let us start looking for different categories. Right? So I'm looking at three different regions. One is non-Hindi South. That is Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. Andhra Pradesh is inclusive of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, because this is data from census. During 2011, both the states were the same, right? Then non-Hindi, non-South, that is not Southern, but they also don't speak Hindi as primarily Gujarat, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Odisha and Punjab. And then Hindi belt. Okay? Now, when I look for monolinguals, look at this. Let's say Kerala. So in Kerala, the number of people speaking only one language, right, is into 1991 census it was 75%, 2001 census 75%, and 2011 census 77%, 76.6%, right? Tamil Nadu, it was 85, fell down to 82, came down to 77%, right? Let's look for all states in South, okay? So, Karnataka 77%, Kerala 76%, Tamil Nadu 77%, Andhra Pradesh 82%. So Andhra Pradesh has the most highest number of one language speaking people, 82%. What is the situation in non-Hindi this thing? Let's see. This is okay, in Gujarat. In Gujarat, the number of people speaking one language is just 60%. West Bengal, 89%. Maharashtra, just 50%. Odisha, 74%. Punjab, 52%. Now if you look for all, so in these states in West and the East, variance is there, but number of people speaking one language is much fewer than in South. Okay? How about the Hindi belt states? The Hindi belt states, on the other hand, number of people speaking one language, let's say Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is 92%. Bihar, it's 95%. Madhya Pradesh, 93%. Haryana, better off, 83%. Rajasthan, 94%. So in the Hindi speaking states, people speaking one language is very high. And interestingly, if I look for Hindi speaking alone, okay? So very few people speak Hindi in Tamil Nadu, 1.4%, Kerala 8%, Karnataka 8%, Kerala 9%, Andhra Pradesh 9%, right? So 80% roughly speak only one language, and very few people speak Hindi, but English speaking is also very high. Okay, English speaking is 21, 22 and so on, right? On the other hand, in the Hindi belt, English speaking is very low. Okay, look at this, 2%, 4%, etc., etc. While on the other hand, Hindi speaking is very high. So what we wanted to show in this was that in the West, for example, bilingual people are high. So already people know Hindi and their language, or Hindi and their language much more, right? In the South, they are also bilingual, but they know more English than Hindi. Okay? In North India, on the other hand, the Hindi-speaking population places, they know mostly only one language. Okay, there is a problem here because we are considering Hindi to be the dialect, the main, for example, if you are a Maithili speaker, that is also considered as Hindi. That problem is there, but still, Hindi speaking is the only language in the north. Okay, monolingual. That's the most thing. And English speaking is almost not there. So what is happening is, in a state like Tamil Nadu, where already people are speaking two languages largely, and they are speaking Tamil and, or in Tamil Nadu, Tamil and English, in Kerala, Tamil and Malayalam and English, and so on, there is resistance for the third language. In the case of West, for example, they're already bilingual, so they don't have a problem in learning English because it's seen as a passport for the same. And in the North, on the other hand, they only know Hindi, right? So they don't have a problem with the so-called imposition of Hindi. They're learning Sanskrit as a third language, right? So that's why the opposition is the highest in the South. That's what we are trying to say in this story. Okay? So third language choice, Hindi in non-Hindi states and Sanskrit in Hindi belt. So basically, they want to learn Sanskrit as a third language. That's what we wanted to show here. Right? Yeah. Yeah, other causation stories we also looked at. For example, this a lot of railway accidents are happening, and the railways are saying that we want to implement Kavach, the system which will prevent collisions. But it is not happening. So we looked at reason. What is the reason for that? We found that railways operating expenditure is very high. They have very little amount to implement anti-collision thing. That's the reason why they are not able to implement. So there is clear causation: high operating levels, low investment. Right. So that's the causation part. Right. Deep dives. I showed you the heat story. Right. We dive deep into looking into a pattern, finding reasons, and also going beyond just the reasons, looking at how livelihoods are affected and so on. So it's not just a simple one variable, looking into one variable, but looking into multiple variables. That's what deep dives do. Right? Don't have time, otherwise I'll get into this also, but yeah. The other deep dive thing we did was with respect to excess deaths, right? How many of you lost someone during COVID? Any of your relatives? Okay, 3. Others didn't lose anyone. Yeah, you are lucky people. I lost a relative anyway. So, during COVID, India registered 5.5 lakh deaths or 5.6 lakh deaths, right? But almost everyone said that it is an underestimate, right? It's not a deliberate underestimate. It's because of the nature of our registration process that the actual number of deaths were underestimated. So we wanted to find out what could be the level of underestimation, right? And how do you judge it? So for that we use this method called excess deaths. Okay? So by excess deaths what we do is, let's say COVID did not happen. Okay? So in 2018 in Kerala you had 1 lakh deaths. 2019 you have 1 lakh 10,000 deaths. 2020 you have 1 lakh 12,000 deaths. Sorry, 2015 1 lakh deaths, 16 1.1, 17 1.2, 18 1.3, right? 19 1.4. So if I do a simple, line graph, so I can estimate what could be the number of deaths in 2020, right? Correct? So by that estimation, it should be around 1.5, roughly speaking, right? But the actual number of deaths registered is say 2.5, right? So that 1 lakh, 2.5 minus 1 lakh, that are excess deaths. Correct? Correct? This is the logic, right? And during a pandemic, the bulk of it will be because of COVID. Correct? So if 2.5 lakhs deaths is the number of deaths registered and actual COVID deaths is say just 20,000. So there is a possibility that the actual COVID deaths is underreported by 5 times. Correct? That's how we did for every state. Now what we have to assume here is, in order to come up with these estimations, we have to be sure that deaths are registered properly in each state. Correct? Only if deaths are registered, I will be able to make the analysis, right? But in India there is variance. Some states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Telangana, Gujarat, they have more than 90% registration. But some states, even like Bihar, UP, registration levels are 60 to 70% only. So we can't make this kind of analysis for those states because the registration itself is few, right? Then there's other problem. Sometimes you register deaths, but you don't put the costs, right? So if someone dies here, you not only register that person is dead, you say that person died due to cancer, that person died due to a road accident, that person died due to liver failure, and so on, right? That is certification. Certification levels are even poorer. In India, overall certification just 25%. And even in states which have high registration, certification is low. Kerala also. We don't have more than 50 to 60% deaths are not certified properly. Tamil Nadu also is the same case. So those problems are there. But with the existing data, we were able to find out through different models what could be the excess deaths in those states based on registered deaths and actual deaths. And based on this, we came up with 3 multiples. So essentially we said roughly the COVID deaths could be underestimated by a factor of 5, right? Or 6, right? So actual deaths registered were 5 lakhs, but we said the real deaths could be between 25 to 30 lakhs, right? The government denied it. They said this is just random statistical analysis, we won't accept it. WHO on the other hand used our data. They found out excess mortality for each country and they used the Hindus data for India as well. And in 2025, the government itself released this information after 4 years based on excess deaths data that they had. And they themselves said that excess deaths were nearly 6 times more than, and basically confirming what we had already found in 2021. Okay. This wasn't easy. We had to get death registration data from each state, use RTI, use data scraping, use relationships with health ministers, health secretaries to get the registration data because it's not easily available in the public. And basically come up with the estimations for each state. So it took us almost 9 months to do for each state. Every state we did it one by one. And we were proven right. Government itself later admitted that the excess deaths were 21.5 lakhs in 2021 and 3.7 lakhs in 2020. So that's around 25 lakhs. While the actual deaths reported were around 4.8 lakhs. So close to 6 times more. And that's, we know that, right? So many of us know people who have died during COVID, right? We know that period was a time when many people died. And clearly it was an underestimate. And not deliberate. That's because we are a developing nation, a poor nation. Registration levels are not robust. They are not like US where registration and certification data is immediately available. And so, and COVID affected, like in the US there were 1 million deaths. Not even more than that. 1.6 million deaths in COVID, in the US. China, which tried to suppress data, there also there were 1 million deaths. Therefore, they stopped publishing data itself. Even China had huge number of deaths. Initially, they were using the zero COVID policy and said, we are contained it. But when the Omicron variant hit China, massive number of deaths happened. So every country experienced this. We also experienced it. COVID did not spare anyone. In fact, Kerala managed to keep the casualties low by very intense monitoring. All of you must have gone through it, lockdowns, testing and so on. But even Kerala in the second wave, when the Omicron did happen, massive deaths. You couldn't escape it. And Kerala being mostly a population with higher number of old people and densely packed population, it did not escape it. A lot of deaths were reported in Kerala. But to Kerala's credit, they did not underestimate their, look at this. So in Gujarat, the actual deaths were 44 times more than what the original, what the government claimed. In Madhya Pradesh it was 19 times more. Uttar Pradesh 19 times. Telangana 18 times. Odisha 14 times. Tamil Nadu 10 times. West Bengal 9 times. I think Kerala was just 2.5 or 3 times more. They were able to actually count the true number of deaths. Even Maharashtra did a good job. So they also did not overestimate their deaths. They actually provided a robust estimate of what actually happened. So that tells you about government response, health systems in these states. They were more robust, more truthful. They were willing to have bad headlines as long as they counted the things properly, because that was important to strategize. Like if deaths are happening more in a particular region, then send more testing kits to that place, right? Send more health inspectors to that place. Build more isolation, or quarantine units. So that's how you address this, right? And Kerala and Maharashtra did a far better job. And that data is revealed here. On the other hand, Gujarat showed 44 times more. Clearly, they suppressed data. That's the reason why they suffered more deaths, right? Anyway. All right. So those are the 5 different types of stories. Simple conclusions, pattern analysis, fact checks, context or causation, and deep dives, right? And how do we do this? Again, beyond the scope of this class, I am taking a journalism course in Chennai, and we have 26 classes. So it takes so many classes to get into the methodology of how we do these things. But largely speaking, we scrape data from websites. We take data, mine data. For scraping, we use Python programming, Beautiful Soup, HTML data scraping, and so on. All of it is easy now because of GenAI. Previously, we used to depend on coders to do it. Now code is given by GenAI and we use it, right? Analysis, we use spreadsheets, Tableau, R, and so on. For mapping, showing, you saw this Bihar map and so on. For mapping, we use QGIS, Tableau, and so on. And presentation, of course, interactive presentations are by Flourish, D3, Adobe, and so on, right? Okay, this is another completely different topic, but all I wanted to say is, we use a lot of AI now in data journalism. Previously, tools were not, we had to buy tools or get tools done, but now GenAI is so powerful. Like, let's say there is an intense PDF document with images, like for example, the Bihar data. The Bihar data was provided in PDF files, in images files, in Hindi. Previously, we had to manually convert the data and use it, but this time for almost 65.7 lakh records, just by using AI, we were able to convert it and get it into spreadsheets and do it. So things are much easier now using AI. Yeah, so now quickly to summarize what we had discussed from beginning. Data journalism has changed now. It is no longer just reporting numbers as they are. Like stock market went up today, Tendulkar's average is higher than Kohli's. No, that's, anyone can do that. So our reporters themselves report the data. Data journalists, on the other hand, focus more on finding narratives using data analysis and visualization, and use this analysis to build cumulative knowledge for social scientists like you to pick up and research more and find more insights. Getting what I'm saying? So that's the role. The role of data journalists has changed from previously simply using numbers to supplement data or supplement stories to basically data itself as a narrative. Okay. And finding narratives and then leading to cumulative knowledge and expertise. There are challenges. We are still behind the curve compared to other newspapers like New York Times. They not only are doing this kind of data journalism, they're doing like virtual reality and so on. We are not that far. So we still have to do other things. We don't have the kind of data sets that advanced countries have. Like I said, death registration data is available like this. So I go to a website, like if I want to know unemployment rate, actual unemployment rate in say like Massachusetts, so I can get that information immediately. In India, we don't have that kind of information. We might have CMIE data for state-wise and so on, but actually that also is problematic because of private surveys with methodological flaws. But our PLFS surveys are done over a few years, and so that data is not sometimes granular. So immediate availability of data is not there, unlike advanced countries. Then previously, these companies had technical advantages. They had large technical teams to help with, but because of GenAI, we are able to bridge that gap. But still, we don't have the same resources as these companies, right? And we need more dedicated stories, for example. So now, we are doing so much data journalism. We believe that people are better informed, right? But is this really the case? Unfortunately, there are structural things that already there in journalism that is preventing any kind of data journalism itself to be subsumed within that. So let's give an example. Like, even though we have done like every year we do 4 into 50, almost 250 stories using data, right? many people don't know that you are doing it, right? Because people are still in echo chambers. They read what they want to read. Social media is like it's like a ocean, right? And finding a particular source is not easy. Unless you have dedication to want to come to us and read us, you won't read us. So there is that problem, the echo chamber issue. Then, are these really changing minds? I'm not sure. So people are not looking at data to understand things, except for social scientists. People have their own narratives, and if what I say is suiting their narrative, then they will take me. So Omar Abdullah will take the narrative and say that, poverty and doctor availability and life expectancy, Jammu and Kashmir is so better off than other states. So what the Home Minister is wrong, but he won't mention the economics part. The BJP in Jammu and Kashmir will say, look at our economic growth, it is not good enough, and they will not look into other parts. So similar to that, people only want data that suits their narrative. They are not changing their narratives based on what they read. So that's a problem for us, because social media also has this, or social media, internet media in itself, digital media in itself, it is dividing people into silos. So when you scroll your YouTube videos, right? Like if you are watching Vijay videos, you will keep on getting Vijay things again and again and again and again. You won't get Ajit things. Just giving you an example. So digital, algorithms are written in such a way that these companies want you to read what you want to read, and they'll offer more of what you want to read, and you will be kept in a certain ecosystem, and you won't come out of that ecosystem. So even if I do some, sorry, I think I stepped on. Yes, please check. Yeah, sorry. So even if I provide useful, intelligent narratives, I would be read by only those people who think that my narratives are serving their purpose, not by others. So that's a problem that has become a problem for many societies, including India, and we still we have not figured out a way to break these silos. And I believe that thanks to Anish, these kind of initiatives I'm reaching out to newer audiences. This is why I love coming and talking to you people, because I'm not just talking to data journalists or just people who I agree with, but I'm coming and talking to a different diverse set of people. That's the way I think people will open up to new narratives and new thinking. Anyway, that is one issue. Then of course there is the issue of the model of journalism itself is under threat now. Before, journalism was dependent upon ads, and now ad market is garnered largely by Google and Facebook, and behemoths are now going to be garnered by OpenAI and Anthropic and AI companies. So revenues are very little, so we are not able to get people who are trained to come and do journalism. Only some fools like me who want to continue in journalism. So those problems are there. So to sustainably do such things is becoming a problem. So some of the stories I showed you were done by my colleague Vignesh Radhakrishnan, an outstanding data journalist, who has now been recruited by Bloomberg in Hong Kong. And I can't afford to pay what Bloomberg in Hong Kong is going to pay him. Right? He's going to pay 5 times more than what he's going to get in the Hindu. So when you get good skills, immediately big companies lap you up. So sustainably doing journalism is a problem. Attrition rates are high. And then government apathy. And this goes across all governments. Not just the central government, but even state governments. Governments want information only that suits their agenda, irrespective of where they come from. So even anything that makes them uncomfortable is something that they don't. So that apathy translates into data availability also. So they don't make certain data sets available because they think that it is uncomfortable for them. We know what happened with PLFS survey, unemployment survey in 2018. We know the fact that census itself has been delayed. We know how state governments also respond to requests for data. So, for example, the health data, which was easily available in Tamil Nadu, but not that easily available in Kerala. I thought it will be much more easily available in Kerala than in Tamil Nadu, because Kerala was doing better. But because Kerala, the level of discourse is also sharper. So if I say that deaths are reported, 9 times more deaths are happening than actual in Tamil Nadu, right? That's the problem for Tamil Nadu. And say in Kerala it is only 3 times. So Kerala government can say that, look, we are doing better than Tamil Nadu. But the opposition in Kerala will say 3 times more. You're fooling people. So therefore, they are not looking at this comparative with other states. They are looking at it with respect to Kerala. So they are not willing to release that information, right? So we face those kind of challenges in Kerala. It took us a lot of cajoling and, requesting and pleasing, thank you and so on to finally make them release it. So state governments also, and by state governments I'm not only talking about political leaders, but the bureaucracy. They are very loath to actually releasing data. Now we are seeing that the data protection bill is actually going to stop personal information from being shared of bureaucrats. And by personal information, even let's say some person is transferred 5 years before the due date, or some person is spending a lot of money, even though higher than his bureaucrat, his income as a bureaucrat, that information will not be available now, because they say they will call it personal information and we won't get that information. So these kind of problems are now arising, where public information is getting less and less and less, and governments are being apathetic towards releasing more information. Mostly also governments, when they release information, they won't give the full data sets. They'll give you dashboards. So we have to go and drill down the dashboards and get it. So these problems are there. So these are the challenges to data journalism, and whatever you are seeing now is despite these challenges, right? So yeah, we'll take some questions now, but to conclude, data journalism has evolved beyond just a core product of legacy media like telling a story with numbers. As I said, if you do good data journalism, it improves credibility and informativeness. And the tools that we use for data journalism methods are the same as what you use in social science. It's not very different from that. And if a good data story is one which uses the same methodology that social scientists use to come up with a good narrative and a good story. Finally, what used to be very difficult before in terms of data extraction, data presentation, interpretation, big data analysis, and technical tools have become much easier now because of GenAI. Sorry, I think I rushed through in the last few things, but we are short of time. But I can take questions now. Yeah? Anything related to any story you want to ask, we can go back to that story. Anything you want to, yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. So see, for all the problems we face as a developing society, India has one of the most robust statistical institutions compared to other developing countries. We have had this, statistical institutions in the 1950s. How many of you know P.C. Mahalanobis? Have you heard of P.C. Mahalanobis? He's the father of India's statistical establishment. He was a statistician from Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. In fact, he founded that institute also. So from the 1940s, 50s itself, the Indian government has set up these institutions which do very robust surveys. Like if you go to Ministry of Statistical Planning and Implementation, every 5 years they do several surveys: consumer expenditure, household consumer surveys, employment surveys, variety of it, okay, farm-related surveys and so on. So there are a huge amount of survey information available. That is number one. Number two, this statistical information is also provided in a way that statisticians, methodologies, social scientists actually parse through it regularly. Like for example, recently someone found that in Assam, some variable, I think I forgot what was the variable, unemployment I think, was overstated because samples were concentrated in one district, right? So they found out this, you can't use this data because samples are concentrated in one district, and therefore the situation in one district is being reflective for the whole state. So someone pointed that out, a statistician pointed that out. So there is also a good statistical establishment in that sense, which is evaluating these data sets. Okay, so for example, GDP series, right? GDP series till recently we are using the 2011-2012 GDP series, and there were people who are complaining all the time saying that no, this has become outdated, so we can't use this. And then when they revised the series, we found that our actual GDP was overestimated, right? But this was already pointed out by economists. So we have a robust social science, establishment who are tracking these things. People in IGIDR in Mumbai, for example, people from Delhi School of Economics, and so on. So we have to, journalists have to constantly interact with these people also. Read what they are saying. Go and read EPW. Read some of their articles. And as opinion journalists, I actually ask these people to contribute to us, and so on. So that's how we improve upon our understanding of official data, right? So because of that ecosystem where there is someone to judge whether the government is maintaining the data properly, we know what data we have to source and not source. Then, of course, we have diverse data sets in RBI, in Ministry of Statistics, Planning and Information. Therefore, official data can be trusted to a large extent. It can be much better, but it is not bad. It is actually good. It can be better also. Right? Does that answer your question? Yeah. But at the same time, you have to also be careful. Surveys even done by government have to be checked for methodology, have to be checked for, like for example, okay, I'll give you an example. The National Crime Records Bureau, every year they publish a data on crime statistics. Okay. Now let us say I'm telling you that crimes against women, sexual harassment cases, in Kerala has the highest number of sexual harassment cases in the country. If I tell you that, would you say that Kerala has the worst situation in sexual harassment, or how would you read it? No. Why would you say no? Excellent. That's the point. So, in places like Kerala, FIRs are registered on sexual harassment better. In places like in police stations in Kerala, when a case of sexual harassment is reported, immediately police files FIR. Immediately these cases are registered and follow-up is there. In some of the poorer states, they don't consider this as such a big offense. In places like Kerala, women representation as police is higher. So when you use the data, you should not use it to compare. You can use that data within Kerala. Over time, has this thing gone up? Let's say drug abuse. Has drug abuse gone up in Kerala over time? Then you can make meaningful comparisons. So for example, Nipah cases, right? People say Nipah is happening only in Kerala. Why is not happening in other places? They are not detected in other states. In Kerala, there is a robust public health infrastructure. There is a public health center at the village level. There are local government institutions, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm talking from secondary knowledge, Kudumbashree and others, who actually track these things, who actually report and actually take action. So the reporting is high. Nipah also was controlled to a large extent because there was a movie on this, virus. Yeah. So because there is a robust public infrastructure and information system. Newspaper reading is very high in Kerala. Information dissemination is very high in Kerala. Local language news is disseminated much faster in Kerala. So therefore, reporting is high. So we have to be careful about how you report these things. You can't just do a state versus state comparison. Right? Getting what I'm saying? So information is there. Information, how you parse it, you have to understand the methodology for it. So if anyone who is doing media studies here, yeah. So if you are working on any story as a journalist or thing, you would always want to depend on an expert to give you the long and short of it. Don't just jump into it by looking at data and interpreting it. Depend on the expert to give you the context. Once the context is arrived, only then you will be able to say a better story. Right? Any other question? Good question, thanks. What's your name? Sandra, yeah. Anything else? You are from Kerala? Okay. Yeah.
So I have a question regarding the liberty of the language that we use while publishing or we are putting forward our opinions. So it's always that constructive criticism that we need to follow, or we have to give the accurate data as it is. Like there are many chances it get rejected most of the times. But in media, like in newspapers, you have that liberty that use the language. Okay, this is exactly it's happening. But in social science research, we have to maintain that neutrality. Many times, like we can't put forward as it is. So how
I'm surprised. I think it's the other way around. In media, we have those pressures. So sometimes it doesn't happen in the Hindu. There might be media owners saying, why are you doing this uncomfortable story? Don't do it. So it didn't happen in my case, but there was a case when we were doing these excess death stories, for example, someone reached, I don't want to name which department, anything of the sort, because I don't want to. So someone at the very top had reached to one of our top people in the organization, and the top person in the organization reached out to me saying, why are you doing these stories? We are already suffering. Why do you have to show that we are suffering? But we are also doing other things well. We are testing people, etc., etc. But when I started showing data for each state, including opposition states, then that person said, okay, I am understanding what you are doing. I understand that you are not doing it as an agenda. So they did not question me again. So that pressures are more in media. Because media, we are working in a commercial environment. right? And in which one of our big sources of revenue is government. So if you're going to keep on criticizing government, you'll say, why should we give you money, man? So that problem is there. But what we have noticed is that for organizations like ours, we are lucky. We have been here for 150 years. So we don't get those kind of pressures. So people, even central government, others, they think, okay, this is a long-term organization. They'll let them have their say. So they allow us to have their say also. But that pressures are more in media. In vernacular press is even more. So normally vernacular press organizations do not take up more critical issues because one of their chief sources of funding is from government. So they stay away. I don't think you have that problem. I know you have to be objective in the sense that you have to let the data speak for itself and normativities comes later. I think that's what you're trying to say. But the pressures are more external and extraneous pressures are more in the case of journalism than in social sciences. So no government is going to tell you don't do this research, right? Only your PhD supervisor is going to say don't say this aloud. But in our case, we have more dangerous people than supervisors. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Any other question?
Sir, it is regarding my PhD work.
Yeah.
I am working on Adivasi land question and contestation over development.
Come again. Slowly. What are you working on?
Adivasi land question
Yeah.
and contestation over development in Sundargarh
What
district.
over development? Sorry. Contestation over development.
Yeah.
Okay, understood. Okay.
Contestation over development in Sundargarh district of Odisha. So
Okay.
during
Which district? Sorry.
Sundargarh district of Odisha.
Understood. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so during my pilot study and for paper writing, I do some field works.
Right.
So there I found that though they protest the CR report, social impact assessment report,
Right.
and that means and they doesn't want that study should happen there.
Okay.
But that study was happened there.
Understood. Okay.
And through RTI report,
Yeah.
the local leaders or affected people found that 30 filled the J form for they want to give land like this. So when this happened case, High Court case, so while that case judgment was came, that then CR report there written that 482 persons are agreed. That means the 80% people are agreed to give the land.
Okay.
So while they means what I call local leaders,
Right.
they RTI and report that 30% only gave their consent.
Understood.
And Panchayat means Panchayat Gram Sarpanch was also means I also attended several protests.
Yeah.
So there also Sarpanch also said that I also means I didn't fill the Form M
Right.
for land acquisition.
Right.
But the company owned that High Court judgment and
Okay.
so means how
I understand. What you're trying to say is, what's your name, ma'am?
Sarmila Majhi.
Sharmila is saying that what you call official data. In her case, she's saying the High Court laid on a certain data called official data, which showed that 80% consent was there for land acquisition. Correct me if I'm wrong? But when she looked at RTI data and she did her own field work and asked officials from Panchayat officials and others, that number was overstated. It was much lesser, 30%. So I think your implication is that should we trust official data at all? Very fair point. Very, very fair point. So yeah, so in stories like this, right? That's what I'm saying. A journalist can only, as I showed you the farm fire incident, right? Unless I know the context and I simply regurgitate official data, then that information will be problematic and it won't reveal the correct information. It won't reveal the correct story or the correct problem in that area. It is always better to rely on RTIs and go further deep into it. So that for a journalist it's not always easy to do that, right? So but on questions like this, land acquisition, consent for land acquisition, protests and so on, We therefore don't depend only on quantitative information. We place higher value for qualitative information in terms of interviews, talking to community leaders, because even one person objects, that's a big thing, right? So we can't say only one person objects, therefore we can't do land acquisition and so on. So there should be reasons for it. So there will be qualitative reasons for it. So when a journalist wants to say a story on such issues, then they don't really depend on numbers to do that. Numbers can be a supplement there, but you say the story from a livelihood perspective. So for a social scientist like you, you are delving deeper, you are doing it over a longer period of time. So you are bringing out the problems in quantitative information itself. From a journalist point of view, since the quantitative information is problematic, I will limit myself to a qualitative information, talking to concerned citizens and relevant citizens to bring the story up. Am I making
Okay, sir.
something clear? Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much.